All right, I'd like to open the July 1st, 2025 meeting of the Planning Board. First thing we'll do is go around and take attendance.
John Jewett.
Dean Levin.
Adam Morris.
John Clark.
Susan Young.
And Russell Petro.
All right. So first thing on the agenda is Jeffrey Router and the driveway permit, and I bet that's you.
That would be me.
So tell us what you want to do.
All right, so I'm looking to put a 124-foot driveway in on Battle Street. It's going to be holding about a 10% grade. I can keep it 5% for the first 20 feet and 5% for 28 feet at the bottom.
At the bottom,
Yep.
what about from getting from the point A to point B?
That'll be holding right at 10%.
10?
Yep.
So I scoped that all out, your pink ribbons and stuff you got up there. What are all of those?
So there was two driveways plotted there. One to use the original entrance, because that driveway did have an approved permit in 2021, I believe it was. So one was to keep that entrance. One was for the entrance my engineer put onto this plan. I think I'd like to keep that original entrance. It's already cut in, it keeps you away from the telephone pole.
So where I saw the excavated tracks going right straight down over the hill, is that what you're proposing with that driveway?
No, it's coming kind of crossways to the left.
Okay.
The house is going to be towards the left part of that lot,
All right.
part of the clearing.
So you haven't got it cleared for where I saw like a different level down below.
Yes, that's where
And then
the
there's
house-
another level, and I saw a stake down in there.
Yep, yeah, so where those excavator tracks were would be where the house is sitting, driveway's right before that. And all that would be coming up in grade about 10 feet from where it is right now.
Yeah. It's pretty steep, looking at it.
Yeah, looking at it, it's
Yeah.
definitely steep now, but
So how
that,
far down are you gonna put that house?
so the house would be where that excavator track was there. That will be coming up by about 7 feet.
Yeah.
And then 9 feet to the top of the sill foundation, and that's where the driveway would be.
So the house is gonna sit right up close to the road?
It's a little over 125 feet back from the road.
So you're gonna be down in that hole?
Yep.
How are you managing the brook that runs probably 3/4 of the year? Just so you know, I'm your neighbor down the road. I jog by there, I'm pretty familiar with your property.
Yep.
My concern would be if I was moving in there, how I would manage that brook.
We're gonna be about 18 feet from the brook on the corner of that house, so we shouldn't be disturbing that at all.
Okay, I'm more concerned about it disturbing your house than I would be disturbing the brook.
Yeah, I'll be building up above it as well. I'll be above that brook
Okay.
quite a bit.
Other questions? Rob? Yeah.
Well, it looks like he's got more information for us. Maybe we ought to look at the.
Yeah, I do have the plans. Where do you like them?
Bring him on up. We need another table and another grab one. Mr. Metz today.
So that is the proposed setup.
So we've got that, we've got this part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is showing current elevation of how
Yeah.
everything's sitting. Where, so right now that area is sitting around 478 feet, and the sill is going to be at 491 feet. So everything will be coming up quite close.
Battle Streets.
Sitting at 5. So,
So good, the driveway's not gonna run straight at your house?
yep.
Because I thought about that, okay, with a steep hill in the winter.
Yeah,
But
so it's going to be about a 10-foot drop over 120 feet.
Where are you planning your well?
The well is going to be in this top corner, right around a 50-foot setback. Yep.
And that's 50 foot from the neighbor's property on the north side of the road. North side of your property.
That's the 50-foot setback from the road.
How far are you from
From that neighbor,
Five
setbacks
trucks,
over here.
accessibility won't happen.
Along the road.
Okay.
No, not unless we do something halfway up and kind of just get us off the road. I know we have, if it's what grade, 300 feet, we got
Yeah,
turnarounds.
something like that.
I would say, what is the, less than 5% or 5% for the first, how many feet again?
5% for the first 20.
Okay. And we just actually voted to give more of the benefit of the doubt for some steepness. The problem that we run into is fire apparatus. So the approach angle, tire to bumper, most of those are designed for an 8%.
Okay.
So anything more than that, you can't get fire apparatus
Yep.
into your property or boats.
Yeah, because I know degrees wise, it's something like 5.74 degrees, which I can get a triaxle up and down pretty easily.
And triaxle actually has a better approach angle, believe
Yeah,
it or
they don't
not.
have the overhang.
Yeah.
Your bumpers here, your tires
You're
here,
talking-
fire apparatus, you got a
Wheels there.
4 or 5 foot overhang sometimes, and that's why that approach
Yeah.
angle's worse.
And I mean, I could smooth out that grade quite a bit, get that approach angle into it, make it more of a sweeping transition between the angles in the driveway.
So your house
20.
is gonna be basically sitting somewhat on that first plateau down in there, is that what you have for plan?
It's
Or
the
is it
second
gonna-
plateau down.
So where that wood stake is down at the very base of it is gonna be the front of your house?
Yes.
And you're gonna be down in that hole, you're not gonna lift that up at all?
We are lifting that up.
How much?
We're lifting that up, I think that is currently sitting 474 feet, and that will be at 483. So going up to about 9 feet on that.
Yeah. So you get almost to the very first plateau, you're gonna be at that, about that.
Second height, yep, and then that second height will be 9 foot above, because it's a walkout basement style house.
Yeah. I think we should probably look at that one more time before we say it's A-okay, because, That's
Maybe
pretty
if you wanna
steep.
meet us out there too, or
yeah,
Yeah.
would be
So do we
beneficial.
wanna
I think.
do a site visit?
yeah,
I think that's appropriate.
yeah.
After grading.
Cause my biggest concern, just as yours, is getting us
Yeah.
off the road and into your driveway, whether that's an ambulance, fire engine, any of that stuff. Some of our fire apparatus, Concord's ladder is 42 feet long. So
Yep.
a 20-foot grade does us nothing. We're gonna sit bumper and bumper and have that dip or vice versa, which would be the problem. Also, maxis and stuff like that, there's brake systems on them that hold back so much weight, and you get to a point, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you put in there, it's going.
Well, I was just thinking that it's right down.
Yeah, so I guess in my head, when we do a site visit, it's
Yeah.
coming in at that angle, but somehow building up an area to be able to fit apparatus before you, I don't care if your own vehicle
Yep.
takes a higher grade necessarily, because then that's you sliding off your driveway per se, but emergency services would be my concern. And I guess if we can make a spot for that,
Yeah, I could
maybe
definitely
we
add
can look at
a,
things a little differently.
Yeah,
yeah, I could probably add a spot in for that. Or we can smooth that grade out quite a bit and kind of get good transitions, because that steepest point's a little bit less steep than that road over there.
what's that, the town road?
Yep. Yeah, it's a little less steep.
You think it is?
Yeah, that's sitting right around 6 degrees. I'm gonna be 5.74.
You're hitting 10 marks
10%.
after 20.
That is the, that's 10%, 5.74 degrees.
But yeah, I guess that would be something I'd like to do.
Yeah, we do that and then we'll, right, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Because it
Wait.
looks pretty steep.
Yep.
So wait
About
to
it.
make a motion to approve until we do the site visit, or do
So
it?
why don't we do the site visit? We can always approve it at the site visit.
Okay,
Is that
Okay.
fair?
So when do we wanna schedule the site visit? Since you're here, we can set a schedule
Yeah.
for it.
it's really,
Friday?
Monday the 7th? I'm trying to think, well, Friday's the 4th of July. Maybe somewhere with his kids or something.
Yeah, I'd be available Friday.
Um,
If that work.
Yeah, and when are you gonna get equipment up there?
I'm just waiting for all the approvals and I'll have equipment
Do you
there.
run your own equipment?
I have a couple guys that will be doing it.
Okay, I mean, maybe getting them in there and just scratching where you're thinking, then we can go there and see your plan? Doesn't have to be done, I'm just,
I don't, the excavator's a little over 2,000 a week, so I don't want it there any longer than it needs to be.
you know,
If we just check it out, would be,
Okay.
I think we should look at it, because I'll tell you what, that thing goes right straight down.
It also, they built that big area at the top.
Yeah.
Whoever was in there before, that will all be going away.
So you're gonna take that out?
Yeah, that'll be pushed down and made a smoother grade instead of just
Yeah,
a plateau and
flat
a
in.
drop like they currently have it. I think they
Yeah.
did that to get a well truck in,
Yeah,
but with the grade the way it is, you can get the well truck in through the bottom quite a bit easier than drilling down through all that soil they put in.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not available Friday.
Yeah, I just throw it, that's all.
The first day that works for me would be Monday, but I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's all cool,
It's
first
the
thing in the morning.
7th, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
7. I won't be available at 5 going forward because we're going to be on Buzzing Road with the select board.
Yeah.
So Marlo and John won't be able to go if it was.
In the evening.
I've got to be at the sheriff's department on Monday morning.
Well, whatever you guys wanna make work.
But I understand this gentleman's plight here, so, how about Tuesday?
Tuesday's
Can
fine.
we do that?
Tuesday, I'm
You're at the fire.
24 at the firehouse, yeah, but Wednesday.
Wednesday.
You want to do it a little earlier in the day, or are you not available until nights?
I can do anytime.
And so what works for you?
How about 6 a.m.?
That would be fine.
No, I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, no, I can do 6
I
a.m.
have to be
Monday.
over in another part of the state. So.
Yeah. No, I'm
I don't know
only
about
30
my
minutes
two
away or
colleagues.
so.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it.
I mean, I could make Tuesday work if that's a better day for you guys, but.
Tuesday, so picking Tuesday, the 8th, at
Do it
what
early in the
time?
morning.
Early in the morning?
Yeah.
Hello?
Good.
What works for you? Early.
I'm fine anytime. I'm about 30 minutes away. It's not so
7,
bad.
8 o'clock, I don't know, earlier than
How
that.
about
I'm
you,
off
Russ?
Tuesday. So.
Now, I'll get here. It's on a Tuesday, I'll get
So
here.
maybe close at 8 then for you, so not.
Yeah, 8 would be good, because so I can get up here.
All right,
Good.
Okay.
why don't we try 8
8
AM,
o'clock Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 8th of July, up
All
the
right.
road.
Perfect.
Ooh, where are we gonna park?
So,
Along the road, okay.
Yep. They just cut a lot over there, it looks like, so. Should be
All right,
plenty of
thank you.
space. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. We'll see you Tuesday.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much.
Yep.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the major subdivision application. Because I am listed on at least some of the forms as an abutter, I'm gonna recuse myself from the vote, and that means I can't run the open hearing. We found that out. I was gonna run it even though I wasn't gonna vote. So Teresa, who's the vice chair, has agreed to run the open hearing. So I'll pass it off to you.
Hi there. Alrighty. So, 6:42 PM, July 1st, we're gonna start the hearing. And the first discussion we have for the hearing is to talk about the abutters, one of which is Salisbury. So we need to discuss whether or not the board feels Salisbury should have been notified, should have been here. So, some of the items.
The town instead of the Army Corps?
Yeah, so since
Yes.
it's close to the border, it may be a regional impact, so the first thing the board needs to do is.
Yeah. So that's something we haven't discussed as a board, so we need to discuss that first. Does that make sense? Okay. Alrighty, so some of the items that we need to consider here is the proximity of the property to Salisbury. There is a small part right on Little Road there that abuts Salisbury. So we're gonna discuss that as well as the transportation impact being right on Little Hill there that goes into Salisbury. So travel impact could be, because the road does go straight through. And Russ helped clarify that with me.
Yeah, so that's kind of like if you're gonna have increased traffic going into Salisbury,
Yeah.
that was one of the considerations since it's right on the border. Mhm.
Yep. And the anticipated emissions, the light, the noise, the smoke, odor, not to say you guys will be kind of particles and such. The impact of a small community is very important to your neighbors. So, I'd like to open this to discussion for the board here.
Mhm.
So,
Well, technically, to do it so it's correct, you would have to notify the, Salisbury, so they know where they're in a butter,
right,
correct? 'Cause all the abutters have to be notified what's going on around you.
right.
And if Salisbury was not
Mhm.
notified,
I don't
So
think,
you don't notify it until the regional impact determination is made.
yes,
So we're right now at that phase.
and that's why we're discussing.
We're
it.
discussing it.
Mhm. The proximity of water bodies, aquifer. I believe wells was in a discussion at one time, effects of wells, and the impact to shared public facilities. So, what are your
Do you want us
thoughts?
to comment or listen?
In a moment, yes. What are your thoughts?
I mean, out of the gate, if it's something we're supposed to do, I think it's responsible to do that. I don't think they're gonna have an issue. I don't think it's gonna hold up anything.
I
think-
don't either.
I think it's a courtesy thing that
Yeah.
should be doing.
Do we know if the property that is in Salisbury is privately owned, or is it owned by
That's
the
the
town?
Army Corps of Engineer land in Salisbury.
So I believe there'd be more of an impact of any travel on that road, any noise, anybody, on the regional impact. But it brings me back to when you do something with your property and you're asking for a variance or anything, you typically need to notify all the abutters anyways, and this is technically in the abutter for that area.
And it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a variance because it's a non-private.
Well, we're not even
Well,
at that
it's not
point
even at the
Yeah.
variance point. It's at the beginning phase, for the same reason we notify abutters, the other abutters, they're also an abutter.
Yeah, and that sounds pretty easy and straightforward to me.
Go ahead.
That's a good question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. So we did notify all the abutters. Two of the abutters happen to be in the next town over of Salisbury, so
Yes.
it's not actually the town. So, you guys probably all know this or whatever, but the regional impact, what you're trying to figure out there is if this subdivision or whatever this may be, if it was a site plan and they were putting in a gas station or whatever, if that has a regional impact or that's gonna affect the town next door.
Right.
That's generally how it's done. So legally, we notified all the abutters. It just
Yeah.
happens to be that two of the abutters are in a different town.
Did you mention the hearing this evening, so they could have a say if they choose to?
Oh, they all got a
They all
letter.
letter from,
They all
Yeah,
know
they all
about the
got a
hearing
letter.
tonight?
yep, that's part of your packet,
Okay.
is the letter
yeah,
list that I mailed
before.
out notices. But it's still up to the board if you feel there's enough impact, we will notify Salisbury.
And as far as the, I don't know if this is the part you're referencing, I know that's the other aspect. Go ahead. I think that's it. Well, I was gonna say, we're looking at to make sure that we had already done everything in relation to A through
Yes.
F on the town impacts.
Right.
But that's, and so we brought additional data with us on that, and requests.
For the Salisbury town impact?
So that's why I was saying I don't think that applies here, because that was for this town, but not for,
Okay.
it would be the same data.
Okay. Yeah, but they were notified of the meeting this evening, so they could have come.
Salisbury was not.
Okay.
Because
See,
once
that's
again-
that's my concern, and I want to speak with the board about that as well, so that they could have a say in here. I want to go through some other stuff, I don't want to hold it up by any means.
However you want to proceed.
And anybody here from Salisbury? I don't know you all.
No,
Okay, I just thought I'd check.
no, because they've, like I said, we have to do the regional, if the board says that what happens is it puts pause on the meeting for 1 month. We send a letter out to the town of Salisbury, we let them know that this may have regional impact, and then we invite them to the meeting.
Okay.
So that would be the next step if you chose to do it then.
You're asking a question, I think, and And just so you two gentlemen know, I see a lot of residents here too, so I don't want to hear their impact. I'm new to the board, and I need to be educated a little bit, but I think in what she's saying, we need to be good neighbors, and I think, we'd want them to notify us. And Russ, of course, has a process for this, so this might not be the time and place for that.
Well, this is the time and place
Oh,
for
it
this
is,
one.
okay, all right, so I'm in agreement with you, I think we need to notify the town, but I also understand timelines too. And one of our, in my opinion, one of our biggest problems in this town is we don't move things quickly. I don't, we've talked about that, we don't want to hamper that, but it's important to hear from people.
And then there's the other part, we were gonna need outside studies anyway, which I think is the next on the
We
list.
do, yes, next on the list, either you submitted $500 for the planning commission, which we appreciate. We're also wondering about the engineering report, an engineering study. So we were hoping you could submit a $1,500 for that, so that we can get that study and we can start working on it and we won't hold up the process. We like to keep things moving along. Does that sound okay?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Typically, there's some sort of generally a third-party review. If it's
Yeah.
through the planning commission,
Yep.
that's,
So we've already done the planning commission
Yes.
review, we just
so that's
didn't
normal.
time.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're not trying to hold things
We're
up, we're
not,
trying to move.
yeah.
I brought a check because I thought that might be.
Yeah.
You were so on it. And that's one of the reasons we do want to move it forward for you.
Appreciate that.
There was, this kind of sidetrack, but there was a conversation about a cell tower in Salisbury. They were kind enough to let us know because it would impact us as well, service as well as we could see it going down the road. And it's just something towns, they do.
Well, that makes sense. I'm surprised we didn't think of it in the last, earlier.
Me
so,
too.
well,
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. So, do we need a vote on those?
So
two?
the town treasurer would like a vote to open the escrow account. So,
So want to make a motion? To
Second
open
it.
it? Okay, make a motion to open the escrow account.
He's already got the second, so,
Mhm.
aye.
Yeah.
All in favor, yes.
okay, so we can get that started.
Do you want to make a motion to invite Salisbury to our next planning board meeting? It's another, for a hearing for this?
Yeah, I think it would be nice for the town to just register and overlook on this. And, make a motion to invite the town of Salisbury to join us on the next meeting.
Second. Somebody needs a second. I'm not supposed to talk, but I talk.
It's all right when we're well.
Second
Oh,
motion?
yeah, second it. I was
All in favor?
reading here. Aye.
Okay.
Sorry.
Would you like us to add them to our butter list as well?
No, that's fine, this is, like I said, this is the regional impact attorney, you notified who you were supposed to, this is a separate process. This is,
Okay, in the application, I was wondering if you could show us the
So-
proposed utilities.
now that we've determined it's a regional impact, we gotta put stuff on hold until Salisbury has been notified.
Okay, so you
So-
don't think we can go through anymore?
So unless, I'm not a planner, but I'm pretty sure that Salisbury has to be here for the hearing portion of
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
So,
Okay,
and they do have the planning commission's review, so they know what you're gonna be asking about,
Okay.
because it was in the review. But, so,
Yeah, so typically how I've seen it done before in other towns with regional impact, if you feel that it may be a regional impact, the planner would send their planner our package, the plans, what we're putting a 5-lot subdivision or whatever. And then they would their planning board would make a determination as if they feel it's a regional impact or not. And then they would say yes or no. And if they said yes, they would come to the meeting. If they said no, they would be fine with it. That's typically how I've seen it work before.
no, that makes sense. And I can, this is my first time doing regional impact, so we can send that stuff over to them, and I can call Salisbury and say it's
Yeah.
coming. And I don't know when their meeting is, but I think we're pretty unique with how early we do it in the month, so maybe it can even
yeah, it's a first, so
get through.
can't get in earlier than that.
Right, so that's why I'm gonna hop on it tomorrow and give them a call. Because I don't wanna hold you guys up.
Absolutely.
All right.
So now just the 1,500 kick us off the next phase.
So we
So we
have
can
2,000 in
get that
total
moving.
currently, that's why I didn't ask for total in the motion, because I don't think we're gonna need any more, but you never know, and I don't wanna staple it to a number.
So I see more faces in the audience than I've seen since I've been in this in about the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Are we appropriate if people want to speak tonight? I assume maybe some people do. Are we appropriate to go to
No,
that
it should
step?
really wait for
It
the.
Should that wait? Okay, I just
For the
want,
hearing,
I
for
think
the
they need to
public
hear that,
comment
though,
for
so
the
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So, I could make a suggestion. I know, I know that you have, and that Ryan's been here before with John from Fieldstone, conceptual. It might, it's up to you guys, but it might make some sense for us to go through and explain a little bit about the plan. Obviously, we know nothing's binding, but at least we can get
You
some
might-
information, and then there's some people here that, you know, they came out, we notified them, so that they
Yeah.
could talk to. And obviously, we all know that it's nothing binding, we're just trying to talk about some things. It'll give us some information, it'll give you guys some information.
Yes.
Um,
My only comment to that, I think it's great that you're willing to do that, and I do want to ask that you'll return for the next meeting when Salisbury's here, so we can have everybody's point of view. So if you could just do that 2 times.
Oh, yeah,
Do it
yeah,
tonight,
yeah, no,
and
that's fine. And,
Perfect.
you know, it's no different than, so we just received the review from the first initial review from the planning commission. That was very helpful to
Yes,
us. We were
very.
able to compile some things and know what we should be talking about and
Yep.
things. And so, yeah, and I'll definitely be here the next time, or till we get to the end.
Yep, we just need the same information both meetings,
Yep.
would be wonderful. All right, what do you got?
So, I don't know where you want me to stand or whatever, but.
Over there should work. We're doing.
Why don't you put that right behind Russ right there, so that these people can see it?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
That's fine.
Well, you know where you're at in the plan.
Mostly.
I have a small version printed out. If you-
Oh, I have
you
a
got
bunch of
some.
small versions and the big versions.
We all have.
That's why I had the position.
Yeah.
And there's one on the back of every agenda, so.
So this plan here has changed from the original one, correct?
The most
About
recent
twice?
one, it changed again a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I,
yeah, we've shortened the road a
yeah,
fair amount.
plus you cut off 2 lots.
Oh, 1 lot.
1 lot, I thought you were going to
Yes.
7.
Have we officially closed the open hearing?
We're
It
not
was 6.
closing the
Oh,
hearing
yeah.
until, so we're gonna have
And then
a
we-
motion
We
at
did
the
a lot of
end of this
engineering
to
work on the
continue the hearing
pond.
at the next meeting.
Okay.
So we're not closing the hearing yet.
Had
So
some new
it'll be-
conversations with.
Can I ask questions?
Yeah.
You can go sit out there and ask
Yeah, there's public
questions.
comment. Should be able to.
Public comment.
I think we're sort of in an unofficial point at the moment.
Just sort of an
Actually, it probably
information.
makes sense just to make the motion to postpone the hearing now until next month, and then we'll do this as informal.
Okay, and I'd like to make a motion to postpone the hearing until next month.
I'll second it.
I was just thinking, does that hurt anybody here for giving their input?
All in favor?
No, because now that the hearing has been postponed,
Yeah.
this is all informal, so we can
So people can ask questions.
ask questions and
Yeah,
talk
let's
about,
go.
because we're
Just
not
wanna
in
make
a
sure I think
formal
it's-
hearing anymore.
Yeah, you
That's
don't
next
wanna-
month.
All in favor?
So my name's Bill Davidson. I'm a civil engineer with Hoyle Tanner. Both Ryan and Lauren Oliver. I think you guys have met them in the past. Last time that we were here, I personally wasn't here. We had a surveyor from Fieldstone who did the actual survey work for it that it presented, and it was there was a conceptual subdivision. Not a lot has changed. We've changed some locations and things like that, but not a lot has changed. It's tax map 2, lot 5. It's a little over 128 acres at the end of Little Hill Road. Still has some frontage that goes down Little Hill Road and into eventually into Salisbury. gonna be a 5-lot subdivision. I know there was a lot of talk at the last meeting that they were here. The roadway is about 950 feet. It's gonna be a private road. Ryan and his wife, all the lots, they're going to retain those lots for the time being. I can flip, and you guys do have, everybody does have, okay.
And then we've got our
bigger ones.
big ones too.
Okay, so everything that you have in your package is the same thing that I have here. I do have some other things that I can go over that you don't have in your package that's based on the review that we just recently got, just some comments. So this is the subdivision plan. This is basically, anybody that's familiar with Little Hill Road, the turnaround that they have, I believe the bus and everything turns around there. That's the basic location of where this new drive will come in. It's about 950 feet long. We do have a detention pond that's there. I'll show that in a little bit later. But there's going to be 5 lots with a large remainder lot. It's about just under 100 acres, about 96 acres. So that is one of the 5 lots, the remainder. And that is the remainder out into this area here. That is one of the comments that the planning commission had, was with your town regulations and checklists, we're required to show all the soils, all the contours, all this pertinent information on this. Where we're not using this back portion here for the whole 96 acres, it didn't. We're going to ask for a waiver for that, but it didn't make a lot of sense to go do all the soils work on something that we're not going to be developing. That's just the remainder. So that was one of the things that came up in the review. So we have all the building setbacks. The lots are all over 5 acres. That is your zoning for the 5-acre lots. Also, anything, if any of the lots were less than 5 acres, we'd have to go to the state of New Hampshire to get subdivision approval. Once they're all 5 acres, that's no longer required. Generally, that's the reason that they do that, is they want to make sure if you have a 2-acre lot that you have enough room to put your well and your septic and make sure you meet all your setbacks. On a 5-acre lot, there's obviously enough room to do that, so that's why they do that. I can go a little bit into the, actually, let me spin this around.
I'd like to comment here, just to show them a difference from last time for context. So you guys may remember that in the previous design, this was the same, but the road extended back to here about 500, 600 more feet. We realized that by reducing it from 6 lots to 5 lots, we could shorten the road quite a bit, which means we don't have to disturb the wetland, reduces the cost, and also we don't have to disturb Matt quite as much, and that was so that was kind of the motivation for that. And that's okay. I know it's different, but that was the reason.
Yeah, really good comment. I'm glad you brought that up. So I can show on this colored plan, it's a little bit easier. You guys you do not have this in your package. We just colored it up a little bit so it's easier for people to see and understand. Again, the roadway would come in here. It's 20 foot wide, private road, it's gravel. 12 inches of bank run gravel, 6 inches of crushed gravel. Typically, just like it would be with a regular road, it just doesn't have a pavement layer. A series of culverts that go down, a pond in this location here, also with a turnout for dry hydrants. My understanding, I didn't meet with the fire chief, but I know Ryan did, and I think in this area, there's not a good viable water source in that area from my understanding, so now we're gonna have a dry hydrant here that they can tap off of. I believe the fire chief was was good and happy about the location. and-
Yeah, they gave us a few comments which we incorporated into this.
Yeah, so the dry hydrant, typically when we do a dry hydrant, we keep a distance of 14, there's a bunch of requirements that we have. And the fire chief, usually we have 2 to 2.5 feet below the strainer. They wanted 4 feet, wasn't a big deal. We were able to do that. So he had a couple comments that we were able to incorporate into our detail that
They also asked for, we had the dry hydrant coming up at like
290s.
290s, and they asked for 245s. So, we changed
So,
that.
all his comments made a lot of sense. I live in Mount Vernon. I was on the fire department for 11 years. I'm not anymore. I kind of bowed out because it's a little bit more of a young man's game. But I understand the whole concept of, we didn't have any hydrants. We didn't have, when I mean municipal water. So we were all water
Yeah.
sources as well. So it's a different way of looking at things. As Ryan said, this green area here that we have, that's shaded, that is the wetlands here. This pond is, I believe, designed to be a little over 10 feet deep. So you'll have a good water source there, even in the wintertime, say you got 3 feet ice on there.
You don't have a water source going to that, how are you gonna fill it?
Nope, groundwater, so we've done test pits in that area. This area is
Okay.
fairly.
So you're gonna tap into the aquifer to get that to fill up?
Well, you have the black water that's down below this, we're quite a bit above that, but yeah, we are gonna dig a pond into the groundwater. That's basically how we can establish a water
But
source.
it's the water level that's already
Okay, so you're not tapping into the aquifer,
there. Yeah.
No.
you're doing groundwater?
Yep.
And runoff from this section.
So, some of the comments, and I'll just go through a couple of the comments that the planning commission had, just so we can go across that. So, obviously, with a private road, there is the talk of variance, so that you can, in a homeowners association, things with Ryan is going to pull together documents and things for that. But that's one of the big concerns, is the variance and going in front of the ZBA. So we could get some guidance next meeting about how you want to do that, if we should do it simultaneously at the same time. I think that would kind of make some sense, but we can do whatever you want in that regard. But so there was also some impact studies. So when I look at it, so there's a traffic study, fiscal impact study, there's a bunch of studies that are in your checklist. And the reviewer made a good comment that we should, to make this be complete, we should ask for waivers for those if we're not gonna do them. Typically, on a development like this, where we have 5 lots, the traffic study's gonna be the traffic trips are gonna be very minimal, and I think the cutoff is 200 trips on a weekday, which this 5-lot subdivision wouldn't generate that many trips. Fiscal impact, there's some criteria, so when we come back, we'll ask for those formal waivers just to clean those items up. If it was more of a, if we had a 100-lot subdivision, we'd be talking about a different thing. So we also had landscaping requirements that they had said that we should probably ask for a waiver. I do know that Ryan is planning on doing some street trees and things like that, and to beautify going in.
I've been working with a forester to make a forest management plan.
At this point, we probably ask for that waiver as well from the landscaping, knowing that Ryan's gonna do something, but we can get some feedback from the board if they feel that that's good or bad. So I did say for the waiver for the remaining point for the soils and such. I think that was the end of the variance, and I won't bore anybody with going through the review, and we did put a quick response letter together. I don't think that there was anything that we saw in the review that made us nervous or whatever, so I think we're agreeable to all those with the waivers and such, so.
This is a question, since it's informal, and we're just kind of sharing information, I did also want to know if you wanted the deeds that they requested, or do you want us to hold on to those until next time?
Next time, we would like you to present there, as well as the association, the
Yep.
homeowner association documents.
So, I mean, if you're able to give advice on this at the moment, one thing I was interested in that was setting this, what I've drafted is a deferred association, and the idea behind that is, while we own all 5 lots,
Yes.
we attach to the deed that we're responsible for the road in X, Y, and Z ways. But it doesn't necessarily make sense to make a association we have to maintain annually, since I own all 5 lots.
The,
So what I was gonna do is have a clause in that would then, if I sold one of the lots, that would require the association to be created within 30 days. So that, I was writing up that document, and that would be part of the deed, literature, for each lot. And I didn't know if that was amenable.
Well,
I think,
so, I guess, like fire purposes or something like that, you would have to, somebody's gonna have to take and make sure that it's maintained, the road,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, so it would still be my responsibility either way.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're gonna be waiving the rights of fire trucks going down in there,
Right.
correct? So you're gonna be on your own.
Yeah. No, I know.
You
It's been
know
made clear.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that being said, we would be providing an easement on this as well for the fire department.
Right.
If this house is on.
Right, but
Yeah.
what
I
if
realize what you're saying.
what if that road is not right up to par to put a fire truck down in there to use that point?
Right, so there were two documents requested. One was the HOA so that it was clear who was responsible for maintaining the road up to standard. And the other was the liability document that absolves the town of liability in the case the road is not maintained. Or people get injured on it, because it's not supposed to. And so we drafted both of those to show to the select board.
Okay,
So there'll be easement for a fire truck to use the water
Yeah.
if one of those houses in that subdivision is on fire. But your neighbors on Little Hill,
That wasn't our intention. Our intention was that they would be able to use the water. It's just that
It's
we
for
don't
that,
get,
for that area.
it's really actually kind of, and from that perspective, it's a little bit one-sided because we don't get the guarantee since we want to have the private road. So that's the trade. If we want the private road, we don't get the guarantee of service.
gotcha. But the intent is to maintain it for
So that we
service.
can get service.
And right of ways or not, I think the RSA does allow the fire department to get water from anywhere in the state
Sure.
as needed.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I mean,
that
that
could
was
be
our,
your swimming pool if they needed it.
Yeah.
that was our intention anyway.
Yeah. All right, I just want to make sure that there was
Yeah, put a
easement
color
access
on
for any fire department need for that.
Sure. But yeah, so I mean, it's in our interest, and I suppose from that perspective, to maintain it, obviously. If for no other reason, so we can get to our homes.
And I'm new, just like John said, he was new too, so I'm still learning all the ins and outs of things, but I know we're talking private road on all this. And I wasn't here in the beginning phases, but what is that saving you versus a public and trying to, why did you pursue this versus a public road if you're gonna get it to par with public road standards anyway?
In part, it's because of the purpose of the property is that it's a family farm, and it felt like kind of sticking in that public road. It's not that it'll remove that, but it made that, and maybe it's just mental, but it made that seem less cohesive. Whereas, we're doing a lot of this so that we're meeting ordinances and everything, but for the most part, we're treating it as still one large lot in our mind.
Would one might say aesthetically, you're using private road concepts so people would come up here and have privacy.
Exactly.
Is that, I mean, it's simply said,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's, unless I'm
Yeah, because each
Yeah,
not seeing something, yeah, I mean, you
each
and I.
house here is for a family member specifically.
Yeah, when I think of anything developing in the town as we move forward, I'm sure there's gonna be more and more developments and ideas and thoughts and stuff. And for us as a board, I think our intention is always to keep that small town feel, but also build it up to plan for the next step as well. So if everybody just does a private road or this or that, and then there's more opportunity behind it, at what point, who owns that, and are we locking people in? And that's more of just my thought, you know, we're talking here that you're maintaining the road, so
Sure.
the only thing that holds you to maintaining the road is what, that we can't get to the house and it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I think death is a fairly substantial motivator, but, you know, as far as I know, it's a legally binding contract, so I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if we haven't talked about remedies in case the road is not maintained.
Yeah.
That hasn't been done.
And we've had a lot of those, they say,
Your
100-year
association-
storms.
The association documents.
The association does.
Ought to be stating that, and clauses such as a right, first right of refusal, if somebody does want to choose to leave,
Right.
then, you know, everybody else has an option to buy in first before it's put on the market, something like that. I found 356B, the RSA, 356B is very helpful when you're writing condo documents. It's got some very good language.
Review it
in there.
again?
356B, the RSA, 356B.
We can put some more thought to that as
Yeah.
well, you know. In the town that, like I said, I live in Mount Vernon, in the town I live, they allow private roads as well, up to, I think it's up to 12 homes. And from a town standpoint, there is some benefits because the town's not out there maintaining the road. And all the private roads that I know of are, they're heavily maintained. But that way, the town doesn't have to pay, they don't have to plow them, they don't have to sand them, they don't have to do all that type. I understand the concern of making sure that they're passable, especially when you're dealing with a fire department candidate.
But you still, you know, it doesn't change the tax.
Are you still planning on putting a distillery up there, or?
We got a lot to do until we get to that.
Yeah,
step.
but I'm just asking you
Yeah.
if that's still in the plans
Yeah,
of work.
I would be excited to at some point, but there's enough hurdles. I'm not, as I said before, I'm not married to it, but it would be fun.
Yeah.
But I'm a flexible guy. There's lots of stuff I don't mind doing. If it doesn't work, I'll do something else. But yeah, that was, so for you guys that weren't here last, one of the original ideas was, well, we would do this, and then the farm materials that we produce would feed a distillery that we had on site. Small, nothing like, not like an attraction, yeah. Like a building that we would
So,
work.
so on a Saturday afternoon, could we wander up there for a glass of wine, or how does that work?
I'd have to check the laws at that point, I don't know.
Well, I didn't know if you were gonna get a liquor license.
Yeah, we would have we wouldn't have a liquor license for selling, but I think we would be allowed to provide samples
Yeah,
to residents only.
I'm being facetious,
I
but
know.
somewhat serious.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm gonna sit
Yeah.
down and let some other people talk if you want, but I can certainly help out if I need to.
Thank you.
Maybe some other questions we didn't think of yet.
Good conversation.
Anything else?
Thanks for sharing.
This is all informal at the moment.
Tell me about your homes. What are you looking at? Are you gonna be contracting with a subcontractor to build what's your landscape of home gonna look like?
Yeah, mostly, well, there's some variation there, but they're between, most of the homes will be between 1,000 and 3,000 feet, square feet. There's one house that'll be a little bit larger, more like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. And then a barn. But for the most part, like our home, for example, we're imagining SIPS panels with lap siding, metal roof, very New England. And I actually got my professional logger's license a few weeks ago, so I might be cutting down some trees on my current property and see if I can make some timbers to help out with that. But we have a subcontractor that we're a general contractor that I'm going to be working closely with on that, who's local, and did that kind of answer?
Well, I'm just trying to envision, you know, are you attracting mid-level income people, upper level retired folks?
I'm attracting family members.
Okay.
So 2 of those are young families. The rest are more in the retired range. And then the intention is that as they pass, by about that time, our children would be of age, and if they're interested in.
I think that kind of gives me a vision. I appreciate you expanding my question. Not low-income housing.
Not low-income housing, not tiny homes.
The original plan was for all family members.
Yes.
From what I gather, from different parts of the country,
Yeah.
moving here to be together.
Yeah, so we have some in
I got it.
Texas, we have some in the Carolinas, and DC, and New York.
So this is a family plan. Again,
Yeah.
my ignorance, please.
No,
tell me
and I'm
apologize.
sorry I didn't reintroduce that, yeah, so the
No,
idea of
okay,
this
I
is
get it, I get it.
a family-friendly family plan.
I'm sorry.
It's, but it's an important point, and it's also, when you hear me saying like, we'll be, at least for the period, our intention is to own all the lots, that's the reason.
Thank you.
Do we want to ask if anybody, do we want to let anybody else ask questions?
You guys.
If you like.
Anybody else have questions they'd like to ask?
You guys have.
I mean,
all heard it
we'll
more
be
than
having
once at this point.
we'll have the official open hearing next month, at the next month's meeting. But,
Yeah, thank you for letting us share the small changes.
all right. Thank you for all the information.
Thank you, nice meeting everyone.
Does this mean everybody else is gonna leave now and leave us to our other 2 items? You can leave if you want, nobody needs to stay. Oh, I figured you guys were here to ask questions after all our long, dealing with the driveway, you're just here.
We're here to support them.
Oh, okay.
They're using the same general contractor we use, and we want to let you know that they're doing a wonderful job, and they're gonna do quality work, and it's a good thing.
Thank you.
So that's why
Thank you for coming.
my mother-in-law's part, but she was in the same way.
All right, board, we have only one more thing we need to do, and that is I need a motion to approve the draft meeting minutes from last month's meeting. Second? All in favor? I'm not gonna vote since I was up in Maine. Right, I believe that is all our business. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 7:23. What, oh, we have to vote? All right, I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 7:23. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. We just cleared it. That's just over.
Oh, are we supposed to do?
Was there something we were supposed to do?
Making full-time members.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, all right, I'm going to, guys, no, I'm gonna reopen the meeting for a short minute. We have one other thing to do. Teresa has asked to become an alternate member, and Rob then would move up to be a regular member.
John was on the board before Rob, so.
Oh, okay. Wait, John, I mean Dean?
Oh, no, John Jewett was.
Oh, John, oh, okay.
Dean is already a full-time.
All right, what is our,
That's up to you, but I think you should at least ask Dean,
That's
John,
true.
if he's willing to, if he wants a full-time
Well-
member, or
is there a reason we can't have 1, 2, 3, 4,
5 members
6?
is the member of the board that's in state law. You can
State
only
law
have
is 5?
5 full-time members, and that includes the select board ex officio.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I
Say, I
don't
give
need
the
to be a
benefit to
full-time
John
member,
first.
as long as there's 5 full-time members.
Okay, so you're
Okay.
fine
I'm
continuing?
fine, yes.
Continuing
Yes.
as an alternate? Okay.
Okay, I just wanna make sure,
Yeah.
not wanna feel like you're being,
Just,
We like
just like
seeing you
with
here.
Dean, that's
Yeah.
good.
I'm glad you're here. So do we need to make a motion, an official motion?
yeah, I think that's smart.
I'd like to move that Teresa goes to being an alternate member and Rob becomes a full-time member of the planning board.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now I'm going to close the meeting at 7:25.
Oh,
Anybody?
whoa.
Oh.
Don't close yet. Weren't you gonna bring up, sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
No, it's
Oh,
okay.
you're right, I didn't, because it's not
Let's
on the
have
agenda.
a quick discussion on this.
Okay,
So, when we had the discussion, Marty was there at this discussion. This was the ZBA, planning board, select board discussion. We had the idea was floated by Craig of potentially making a code enforcement board. And since we're having a very, very difficult time getting a code enforcement officer hired, we didn't know if we wanted to fall back on that until we managed to get somebody in the position. And we had discussed this, maybe potentially having a member of the select board, a member of the planning board, and a member of the public on that code enforcement board
And the
to make
ZBA,
decisions in the meantime until we can get a,
also somebody from the ZBA? Or no?
can't be somebody from the ZBA, they're
Okay.
the appeals board.
'Cause they're the
Marty's off
appeal.
the hook.
Can I offer some comment?
Yes.
This discussion's been floating out there. I think it's a great temporary idea, but I don't think it's a great long-term idea. For 3 reasons: supervision, consistency, and managing performance. And those are the 3 reasons. So I think temporarily you've got a lot of stuff going on, and give him support, but I think long-term, we still need to look for that person, if that makes sense. A retired firefighter, a retired policeman, a retired teacher, a retired logging person, professional, a retired carpenter, somebody that knows what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So why don't we just keep looking until
Yes.
and then once we find the person, then it kinda.
Well, until then, the idea is
Yeah, but
until then.
I'm
we
just
have to-
saying, if we rather than put something together and then all of a sudden down 2 weeks, 3 weeks
Yeah.
down the road, you got somebody.
I didn't want to destroy an idea.
Or a
but I
temporary
just-
Band-Aid becomes a long-term Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I was worried, more so than, I think if we just keep
Yeah.
looking or whatever, right?
I agree. I don't
And
disagree.
then we're
Yep.
done.
I just didn't want to
Yeah,
tread on somebody's idea.
No, it's all, and that thought is good, but the trouble with it might be, is like, it may never happen once we get that in place.
I think we need to aggressively advertise, but I think we give you the support you need in the interim. Because I know from sitting in these things and with the board, you need support, there's things that need to be done. We can't keep kicking the can down
There you go.
the road.
You
Okay?
can't have Russ send letters and then
Do nothing.
all the,
Not follow through.
and,
Well,
because you follow through, but you can't
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
and-
yeah, no, and I'm.
You
The problem is I
too,
can only
it's all
handle
good.
so
I
much at a
just
time.
think that it would,
and that's
we're gonna
really
do it.
the biggest issue.
So,
It puts
have there
us
been
in a
any inquiries about the
somewhat-
job?
Quasi.
Not a one.
That's
No.
why,
Yeah, I don't like that.
you know what I mean?
Where does it get
I'm
advertised?
totally with it. I just-
So we
yeah.
advertise at, New Hampshire Municipal Association is generally where most advertisements go for townwide stuff. John suggested maybe doing it in the Concord Monitor, maybe we can put an ad up on Indeed and see if we can
Indeed
get it.
is a good
I've
place.
posted on Indeed before. We don't have high hopes for that because the last time I posted on Indeed, he really didn't get any qualified applicants.
You look at the paper, I looked at the paper this week and saw some contractors, part-time and whatnot. It's gotta be a contractor, a retired fire person from one of the fire department, you know what I'm trying to
Ideally,
say?
we'd want somebody who had a building background.
Right. Yep, definitely.
You know, building or construction background.
And somebody can write a very good report, because, as we know, they go to court and they're
Mhm.
prosecuted.
And we're not the only town looking. If you go in an HMA, there's
Right.
at least 4 or 5 other towns
Yeah.
that can get them on there.
So we approved that job description too, I know we looked at it.
Yep.
The select board looked at it, you guys got to look at it.
It's not something, if you're living in town,
It would be a hard thing to do.
Well,
yes.
you know,
Right, that's what,
you're right.
what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
putting us in a bad
Yeah.
spot,
No,
because
you're right, yep.
it's,
Yep.
could be called a kettle black.
That was my thinking, and there's a lot of decent people in town that, my favorite statement is, good people sometimes make bad mistakes.
Yes.
The other question I have is, you said there's a few people looking for that, like if Salisbury's looking for one, and we are in Warner, maybe getting.
That
Well,
group,
it's not really
Yeah, something that would
like
do a few towns.
local towns, it's more all over the state. And I know Hopkinton doesn't have one, at least Dana said the last time I talked to him. So maybe that's a conversation we can have with their town administrator when she gets settled in, is to say, maybe we can do, like we do with the transfer station, a joint position.
But I think we need to stand in support of you with your letters and your compliance in both the board, the select board, and
That's the biggest piece that helped, is knowing that I have the backing of the
No,
board
definitely.
still
Yeah,
when I do the actions.
I mean, I.
And the other part is getting all the facts, that's equally as hard.
Okay, Thanks, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, no, it's-
Are we gonna try to
Glad you
adjourn
brought it up.
again?
Yeah, no, it's all, stuff
Now a
like that
motion
needs
to
to be
adjourn?
addressed.
Now a motion,
Yep.
Rob.
Rob
Third
just
time
made a
we're
motion
adjourning?
to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Still considering a 1 hour meeting wasn't bad, even though we
No, I
had
was
to go.
expecting to
Yeah,
hear a
We were
lot more.
talking about.
I heard that.
And I didn't want to go out there
And what I was
interfere with what you're doing.
happy to hear,
So what
that
I'm
all the other